Hey, welcome everybody. So this is editor Doobyis talking to you. We had tech difficulties on this. It was the first time that my internet ever cut right out on me, but I had DK and Ghettosocks join me. They have a new album called Listen to the Masters. It's great. It's on all streaming platforms. You should check that out. I started the interview by asking DK what the album sounds like and asking Ghettosocks who the album's for.
I'd say it's for anybody that's a fan of that type of, I don't know, lineage of rap music. You know what I mean? That East Coast sound, and also I don't know. You know, I, people. I think there's people that haven't like been that well acquainted with that type of sound. You know, like I'm dating myself a little bit and talking about the younger folk, but
Nah,
they
man,
might not be.
don't worry about it. I talk about the younger folk all the time over here on ATSIC. And yeah, it's all love. I mean, I
Right.
try to mix in all types of music on the show, and so
Yeah, so that I mean, it can be it's for uh, all types of people. I don't like to sort of say there's like a certain target audience because you never know who's listening, really. Like especially that as doing what you do, holding it down with the show and whatnot. So
yeah, man.
yeah, anybody that's got, I don't know,
Anybody with ears, eh?
anybody with ears and anybody with a little bit of a fucking brain in there too, hopefully, what I'm saying, like, not trying to sound too elite, but it's like it's not it's there's a little bit of demand that's required of the audience, to
Yeah, man. I do know. I think I make that same demand of the audience of after the smoke is clear, because a lot of the music that I choose to play is a little bit more demanding. It might be subject content, or it might just be the lyrical dexterity and the amount of raw lyricism in a song that can kind of push people away if they're not there for that. So I think
yeah.
it's important though that they have a home for songs like that, and that we get more of that music out there, because there's so much that
I
can be
think that's
expressed.
important. Man, I was
Yeah.
fucking up the audio on this thing this entire time, and I just realized it right now. Oh my god! I apologize to y'all. Here, let me do just like a real quick little fucking redo on this thing here. I think I probably got your guys's. Fuck it, man. Okay, so after the smoke is clear is my mix show. This is an offshoot called Fly in Formation. Today I've got DK and Ghettosocks. They have a new album called Listen to the Masters. I just asked them, but we had technical difficulties there, what the album sounds like and who it's for. And we were talking about how it's a pretty traditionalist boom bap sound, and but it's for anybody who's trying to pay attention to lyrics, trying to enjoy that type of boom bap sound or get more acquainted with it. And I think that checks out from what I heard. Like I listened to the album earlier today again, and listening to it, I was thinking to myself, like, is the title of it advice for the listeners? Like, is Listen to the Masters, are you telling people that they should be checking out the roots of the culture more so? Is that the nod there, or is it claiming your status as mastering the craft? Or talk about the title a little bit.
I think it's kind of like a multi-pronged
Yeah.
title. So it's like, like you have the listen to the masters, like listening to those who came before, and understanding and appreciating those that sort of laid the groundwork, so to speak. And then you have the sort of technical application of the title, which is like listen to the physical masters, the final, you know, incarnation of the music in itself. You know what I mean? Like the master tape or the record or whatever. And then and then it's like a show and prove thing, like listen to the masters, like maybe making a claim, you know what I mean, at the same time. So
Hell yeah.
it's and I think that's always kind of like, I don't know, in terms of my approach to making music, is like I like to try to have multiple avenues of meaning and that sort of thing. And you know,
A lot of
get
double
the
entendres and
double entendres, triple entendres, you know what I mean?
hell yeah.
Innuendo, if you will, you know, all those things sort of tickle your brain, you know?
Yeah,
So,
totally. Get it a little bit deeper than surface level or whatever.
absolutely.
You mentioned there that, you know, it is kind of a nod to, you know, that we should respect the elders and be able to look back and appreciate their contributions to the culture. Dude, you've been around a long time, Ghettosocks. Like, do you feel like the culture in Canada here, specifically the Canadian hip hop scene, is, because we often talk about how, you know, hip hop forgets about the originators, or kind of is one of the genres that doesn't really do the whole like Hall of Fame run thing. It's quick to throw MCs away after it kind of is finished with them or whatever. So like, you're somebody who's had a lot of longevity in the, you know, coast to coast local scene. I mean, I still refer to it as local, even though it's a community of local scenes or whatever, right? But talk a bit about just what it's taken to have that type of longevity, man.
Well, I personally, like, you know, I haven't like depended on rap music solely. You know what I mean? Like, I find that where a lot of people go astray, like artistically, in rap is, you know, when they're trying to make that their sole like support system, you know, trying to eat off rap and what have you, you know, like that's where you will encounter problems in terms of being able to last and you know, the issue of longevity and that sort of thing.
Totally.
So, you know, like you know, I do other stuff, visual arts, you know, I'm always, you know, doing a bunch of different stuff, community stuff,
Multiple
you know,
lanes. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Having a bunch of different lanes and being able to, you know, give the art, you know, the attention it deserves. And you know, when you're leaning into it and you're trying to like make money off of it or like sustain yourself off of it, that's when you start to like sort of cater and really like, you know, you're in danger of pandering.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And like, because
it puts you in a position where you've got to make what's going to sell, right?
Exactly, yeah. And so that's, you know, that's something that I don't feel like, you know, I make music that, you know, I feel exists in a place that, you know, something that I'd like to hear that doesn't exist yet, you know what I mean? So
totally,
that's kind of I guess the key to it. And then I don't know, not being affected by.
No, I like what you said there about diversification, man, because that's super important for a lot of MCs. I think they think that they can come in and just expect that doing a couple shows here and there is going to you know, somehow pay those bills month by month or whatever. And it just,
well, the other thing too is that, like, you know, the other thing is, you know, being, you know, having a level of success, you know, which is, you know, realistic. Yeah, I mean, like, that's what I say to a lot of younger you know, cats that want to get into rap, you know, like, once you go like stratospherically big, you know, there's no going back. You know what I mean? You can't just, you know, you can't just go to the corner store or go get a slice of pizza. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have your entourage and security and that sort of thing. So,
yeah,
you know, there's a certain
expectations too, right? You know, like if you blow up and, you know, you're noticed by the mainstream and you get that one hit that crosses over and gets American love or whatever, you know, it puts all this pressure, I think, to then kind of keep making music like that, or keep making maybe music that will sell or is accessible to, or whatever. But I always tell artists, like, the best way to try to actually be true to your art is going to be to not rely on it to pay the bills, kind of like you were saying there, or at least like rely on different lanes of art making to maybe pay the bills or whatever it has to be, right? You know, there's a ton of different collaborations on this album, and I wanted to ask kind of how some of those came together. Like, well, I guess here, let's start before the collaborations even. How did this album come together? How long have you guys known each other for?
Do you want me to field this one?
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah. I would say about 5 years, I would say. We've known each other. I think. Not exact, 4 or 5 years, I'd say.
Ballpark.
Yeah, ballpark.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I just started going to shows, and I met Socks that way, and then we essentially just connected from there. And we did Reflections, and I released a 7-inch just prior to the pandemic with Reflections, and another track we did called Coal Trains of the Movement, which he was also on, and same with Timbuktu and our man Aquaculture down the road.
Yeah, I remember those jams
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And then, it worked. So essentially, that just evolved into a full project.
Beautiful, beautiful. So with a lot of these collabo songs, like, did you end up kind of making them collaborations down the line after they were started on, or were these supposed to be collaborations right to begin with? Like, talk about the process of getting other MCs involved in this. Obviously, like, Ghettosocks, you've worked with so many people that you must have a lot of connections and be able to shoot a text here and there and get people in on songs. But was the intention? Oh shit!
Oh.
We back?
We're back.
No.
I think we're back now.
My internet connection is fucking with me.
We're good now.
Okay, good. So I was just kind of asking about, like, you've worked with a lot of different artists, so was putting a collaborative album like this together, did you go into it wanting to make it this feature heavy, or how did that come together?
I mean, like DK said, that we did a couple tracks initially. We did Reflections and we did Coal Trains. And like when we started working on the project, like, I know that he had some tracks started, that had like a feature on it already.
Right.
And he'd bring that in and be like, what do you think? You want to get on this? And then the inverse would happen, Okay. I'd start a track, or we'd start a track, and then we'd think, oh, who do we want on this? So it's really kind of organic in sense there, you know what I mean? Like, really thoughtful in terms of who would complement the song, or like how to meet somebody on a level for a song. So
for sure.
Yeah.
There was a skit on the album, like the industry skit or whatever. So I wanted to ask kind of what do you guys think about, like, about the music industry in 2022? Because even the skit is kind of like, a label exec guy, the classic, like, label exec desk skit or whatever, and he's getting presented with your album, and it's like, what even is this? He doesn't even know what he's so out of touch. And obviously that's going to be more of like the major setup, because you guys put this out through a label, right? Through Black Buffalo. So I guess maybe talk about the difference between Black Buffalo and, the rest of the industry, maybe, or what you were lampooning.
I assure you that the Black Buffalo doesn't know anything. They don't know anything about the industry. So yeah, they don't count. They're definitely underground.
Okay.
But it's like, I don't know. It was also kind of like, I don't know, it was DK's idea to do this skit, which it was cool. But
yeah, it
reminded me of the Cali Agents. Cali Agents had a skit on How the West Was Won that I think it might have been like throughout the record, but I think it might have been how it started. And they got like the Jerky Boys to do it or something, or they got one of the guys, it's Frank Rizzo or whatever his name is.
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah, so you actually somewhat came up with the idea, because our man Chudy Harris did the male voice on that one. And like, we just used to meet at Alter Egos, which is a cafe in Socks's neighborhood. And like, sometimes he would just like go on these random rants about the music industry. He would get all worked up, just unprovoked. And we just like heard him one day, and we just thought it was so funny. We're just like, we just got to get him to talk about this and just record him and see what he says. So
well, Chudy, shout outs to Chudy, and shout outs to Maya Kiltron also on there too. We've successfully wasted the talents of two incredible singers by just putting them together on a skit.
Talk.
Exactly. uh, but yeah, I mean, you check them both out because you will not be disappointed.
No, they're great.
Maya Kiltron, Judy Harris,
Okay.
stellar artists. Check them out.
Are they Halifax based, or where are they at?
Maya is Toronto based, I believe, and Chudy's in Halifax. Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like the industry is, it is what it is. I don't know.
I mean, it's like wildly transforming at this point too, right? Like it's a completely different thing than it was 10, 15 years ago, even when it was in a real metamorphosis stage even then. So like, like right now it's like people are trying to make songs for TikTok a lot of the time, and if you're trying to make money making music or whatever, that's apparently the lane you're supposed to be in or whatever. So like, another question I like to ask people is, in this kind of setting, like, are you more focused on putting albums together and doing cohesive projects like Listen to the Masters, or is it singles era? Because a lot of people are telling me it's singles era at this point, and so you guys kind of mixed both by doing like 4 or 5 singles off this album, kind of slow release to the album, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think things are definitely more bite-sized and like consumable these days, like TikTok, like you mentioned, but I think, like, personally, I don't know, DK might be in a similar stance, but I just I'm into making records that are like that flow into each other, you know, that like the songs they go, like Sound Bombing 2, you know what I mean? Like it's like is it a mixtape? Is it a radio show? Is it like Prince Paul, Prince Among Thieves? You know what I mean? Like, is it a movie? Like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like I like how you can create like a whole sort of narrative, or like create a whole world out of a record. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Whereas you guys did that on this album. Like it is a ride from start to finish. You don't skip a track. Listening to it today, I was like, holy shit! I actually really like every single track on here. Which like, I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. That's actually like, you guys did a really good job on that project. That like it covers a lot of ground. You got some social commentary on there. You're talking about stuff that normally isn't talked about in hip hop on Be a Mango. That's one of my favorite kind of, at least, subjects that you guys touched on the album. And like, it's talking about toxic masculinity in hip hop culture. That's some thin ice ground to be walking on, right? Because there's a lot of it that has built its way into the culture, right? So like, personally, I'd like to give you props on expressing that and platforming. Lavender, I think, is on that track with you, right? To get her to a wider base. She's always dope.
And Phoenix Pagliacci.
I'm glad you pronounced her name, because I always mess it up. But a really dope song there too. Do you think that's something that lacks in hip hop, is kind of depth of subject content?
And that's where we got cut off. Apologies to everybody, and my huge thanks go to DK and Ghettosocks, who were incredibly patient. But my internet, for the first time in 16 interviews so far, cut right out. So the call dropped, the stream dropped, everything dropped. Now that presented a problem, because when I got back, it started the call up, but the stream hadn't started up immediately. And so I missed a few seconds also where we actually talked, and I recapped the question, and then we kind of talked a little bit more about kind of subject content, and I reworded it to be more personal rather than just like a critique of hip hop in general, because that was a little ridiculous when I asked it there. But thanks everybody for bearing with me on this type of thing. I knew tech difficulties will happen at some point. I don't have a whole tech team. I make this whole podcast and do these interviews independently completely, so it's a learning curve, and I'm making it up as I go. But gems were dropped. So I think that these are worth airing and piecing together here. But basically, if I can paraphrase Ghettosocks, which I hope I don't step on toes doing, he told me, from what I can remember, he said he doesn't lean too far either direction, kind of politically, when I brought up politics, because he doesn't want to alienate anybody or exclude people from listening to him, make people feel like, you know, like he's talking bad about them or anything. So he did say that while it's important to have deeper content, you know, you don't want to be too abrasive with it. And we kind of got to talking about like how Immortal Technique is an artist who sometimes, you know, can be that way. And I said, like, doesn't that guy have
some
good
times
days
in his life too? Why don't, you know? Why
yeah.
don't we
Yeah,
get those
exactly.
down? I like Immortal Technique enough too, or whatever. I don't mean to shit on that guy, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just using him as an example. Is like, you know, I don't know.
He's
like,
holding that lane down.
when you're talking about, you know, headphone music, you know, like even within that, like I think, you know, it's the time and place. You know, you're not trying to kick back and put on some Immortal Technique and, you know, relax. You know, well, you know, we got something in the oven.
Play it at the party.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. So. DK, I want to hear some more from you. Can you describe the Halifax scene? That's the scene we're talking about, is your guys' local scene, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of acts doing it. That's for sure. Like, I just find that the range of sound is just so diverse. It's like, you know, where do you even start?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned that you met at live shows. Is it the type of live show where it's like are there ciphers happening at them, or do you get those kind of shows happening in Halifax on a regular basis where, like, you know, there might be a couple performances, but there's also going to be a cipher, or do you have a cipher night anywhere that people get to hold down like that? Or is it more kind of big acts come through, a handful of people open?
Big acts and handful of people open, but just like, for example, I guess back when we met, like Socks and Tachichi would have done like a lot of shows locally where it was, I guess, just both of them.
Right.
Maybe some other artists too were on the same set, but yeah, that's just easier because everyone hangs out after, and it's just like much easier to connect.
Hell yeah. I talked to Moves last week, actually, DJ Moves, and he was talking about the Halifax scene, and I asked him the same question. But as an outsider, it looks really cohesive. It looks like all y'all get along really well, and you know, you're collaborating. I see show posters posted on your social medias that have, you know, the same artists with each other, but it's not always the same four guys on every bill, you know. But there is crossover there, so I think that might be different than a lot of scenes where you get kind of cliques just hanging with their own little clique. Is that, am I wrong about that as an outsider looking in? Or
there are definitely different groups in that, but I would say it's just a scene is so small where everybody kind of knows each other. So I mean, I don't really see any benefit of, you know, being super cliquey or any of that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like, it's like a Venn diagram, you know, where you have overlapping circles, and I mean, like, that's part of the thing too, is you know, out here, like, over the past several years, there's been like a real movement, like, you know, a lot of the artists that you see popping up have been like making efforts to reach out to like up and coming artists and like people in other circles. I mean, and make those connections and sort of like bring the scene together in a sense. So
that's so important.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And like, you know, I think that often, like, you know, you're talking about other scenes, it's not a typical situation, right, to have this type of thing happening.
Yeah.
You know, it's I think it's always there's an intention. Like, I think the people in, you know, the hip hop, you know, scenes in different cities, they want to do this. They're trying, but it's like you really have to consistently put in the effort, and over time, you know, it's like you don't even really notice it until like, whoa, actually, you know, you're right. No, this is actually what's happening. You know, the scene is actually bubbling, you know, but it takes a while it's not like an overnight thing, you know what I mean?
See,
because like I was just gonna say, even like some of the younger cats, like they're now like, you know, they're facilitating their own shows.
Yeah.
They used to come out, you know, and, you know, be like on a show, opening act or whatever, and now it's like they're the ones bringing in other cats and facilitating whole events and that sort of thing, which is dope.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Everybody
the
should
other
be
thing too,
passing it on.
yeah, no, I was just going to say the other thing is that for the most part, I mean, I find people accommodating because, well, I moved here, I know, like 8 years ago. And so I guess I was an outsider at one point, but I'll just say, like, not everybody is, like, you know, accommodating to, or not everybody wants to talk or wants a network or
Right.
whatever, you know what I mean? But there are, you know, certain people that do. And, you know, that's cool.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people kind of shoot themselves in the foot by like only working with artists they grew up with or something, you know, like it's good to have those. Here's another edit. I said something along the lines of it's good to have, you know, those connections and those bonds with artists, but that it's also good to reach out and work with other artists. And that I think that that's something that, you know, the file sharing era has helped be really cool. Anyway, now we're back to the real one.
It's too much data.
You know what? I'm not even on Wi-Fi, and like, you know, it's plugged right into my computer. It always has worked all the other interviews. I don't know.
It's because we're just hitting you with too much information.
Too many gems being dropped.
Too many gems, yeah.
Too many jewels are being thrown around. So.
Hell yeah. I appreciate you guys for bearing with me on that. Yeah, I mean, I won't take up too much more of your time. I do like to ask people one question. What is the ideal recording situation for both of you? Is some artists like to work by themselves. Some artists kind of work in like a party situation where you've got, you know, people coming and going from a studio. How does it work best for you? I'll start. DK, how do you like working? You make beats before MCs are around, or do you like an MC sitting there with you? Or
usually I just make beats just at my own studio by myself. But saying that, I think there's definitely time and place for like if an MC is there, just to make a beat on the spot. Like, I think that's cool, and I think kind of the collaborative part of hip hop is definitely like doesn't seem to be as apparent now, like in the digital age. Because I know in like the 90s, that's like mostly how people worked. And
yeah, there was no file sharing. Like,
yeah, exactly. And you can argue that that's the, you know, was the best time for making music. And if you go back to like Motown and stuff, so like, oh, everyone was in a room. So totally. I know, I think there's something to that.
Yeah, right on. How about you, Ghettosocks? How do you like working?
It's always fun. I find like, you know, like shout outs to Timbuktu and Swamp Thing, Choky Lee, Civilian. Like with those guys, it's fun just to go and have drinks. And if you've got like a buddy, like Timbuktu's also an engineer. So in Toronto, we just pile over to his house and like we, you know, pick a beat, you know, Civilian makes beats, I make beats, Timbuktu make beats. We all got beats. We pick one. We just write, you know, 8 bars, and then people take turns jumping in. Tim's tracking it. Somebody covers for Tim, tracks his vocals. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, we do that 2 or 3 times in a night. We got 3 songs.
Hell yeah.
And then we, once they're all done, you know, like we just proceed to get hammered, you know what I mean? And listen to what we made, you know. I like that. That's a fun way of doing things. I mean, but also, you know, I like to do stuff on my own as well. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, time and a place for everything, right?
Yeah.
How did most of the recording for this album happen?
It was very much at I recorded all my parts, I believe, over at Uncle Fester's studio. So shout outs to Fester. Yeah, and yes, and some of the other cats like in town also tracked there too. But you know, everybody out of town did their own thing. So
hell yeah. One of the features I should mention, you guys got CL Smooth on a track, and I was like, what? I haven't seen CL Smooth on a track for a long time, let alone on like Canadian people's tracks. That's pretty wild. So like, you know, I think like you were saying, DK, like maybe the there's definitely that group vibe. Everybody in the same spot can definitely have some positives, but there's got to be something to be said for this file sharing era where you can hit legends like that up and see if they want to rap. Because like I saw you saying that's kind of how that came together. But for other people who didn't read that interview, do you want to tell anybody watching how you got that CL Smooth feature?
No, it was good. I guess it's just a story where we were, Socks and I and DJ Uncle Fester were supposed to go to New York. I think it was like basically like the week before the pandemic, or maybe like the week the pandemic shut everything down. So that didn't happen. But we had a few things like lined up there. What else? Oh yeah, right. So we didn't. And like maybe a month or two later, I was just like digging through my vinyl records over here. And basically I came across that like vibey saxophone or flute sample. Hard to tell exactly what it was, but some type of woodwind sample. And I just thought to myself, that's like, I wonder if I can get CL Smooth on here. So anyways, I reached out and he basically just sent me like the verse back right away, which was amazing. And yeah. Oh yes, also the other thing is once I made the beat, I like basically found the line and gave it to Fester to cut up. So it was good. And like in that way, where we already has vocal cut up, like, you know, he could easily see the direction of the track. And
when you sent it over to him, did it already have like Ghettosocks verse on it, or?
No, it just had the cuts with like the DJ scratches with the part that said like trendsetter, green jacket, so all that. Yeah, that's it.
Socks, what did it feel like coming in after a legend like CL Smooth blesses a track? That's a bar to jump over.
Yeah, definitely surreal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah, crazy. I don't know. Just trying to hang with CL was just, you know, it just doesn't seem real. But like, you know, my man Elda Sensei was on the joint too. You know, who I've done we've worked over the years quite a bit together. That's my guy. You know.
Yeah, you guys had a feature like a decade ago on that album or whatever.
So he was like, shout to him. Yeah, shout out to Al. He was like my chaperone, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like, you know, if he's here, I'm okay.
He's the co-sign that got you in the door then, yeah.
Well, yeah, or maybe
not quite. But
emotional support, you know what I mean?
Sure, man.
He's my, yeah.
That's dope. Can I ask you guys a question? So 2022 digital era, a lot of people, when I tell them that I buy all the music that I play on After the Smoke is Clear, have been looking at me and going, you buy music still? I don't even know where I would buy music, they say. Somebody told me that like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what the fuck? What sad state of the world have we got to where, like, you know, people buy other art, they buy visual art, they buy sculptures and beading and all this, but nobody thinks to pay for music ever, you know. So I like asking people, like, do you guys buy music?
I buy music. I buy records, and I like to buy tapes, and you know, if I have an opportunity, I'm like, I lean towards more records and tapes than CDs if presented the opportunity.
And never digital?
No, I definitely have. Okay. Do I do it regularly? I don't know. Not regularly.
I really love putting artists on the spot with this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really depends, you know, it depends. Like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. I don't usually like buy my friends like digital records, you know what I mean? But like I'll buy the actual physical record.
Yeah.
And even records that I feature on, like I'll fucking buy those. You know what I mean? Like, I think I bought
to the collection.
Like there's a young, like one of the young guys out here, Apollo 13. He did a record, and like I bought two, and I gave one to DK. You know what I mean? Like just at a show. You know what I mean? Like just got support.
It happened.
So what about you, DK? Do you buy music?
I usually go for the, like, if digitally I do the Bandcamp download if I really like the project. Otherwise, I'm definitely a vinyl person.
Dope.
If I like the artwork and like the project, I'll support. A good example is like recently I bought like Marco Polo, the producer, released like a 3 series of like a beat tape. So I got one on vinyl. I think I like that one, but I didn't want to drop like about $50 on the vinyl for the next 2. So I just supported just like digitally. I just figured that that's the right thing to do. That help like the producer just in these, I guess, pandemic times. So that's what I did.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's huge that especially like artists are buying each other's music and helping each other promote that type of thing, because the only other way to do it is really to pay for exposure, and that just seems less cool than hearing it from other artists who actually want to co-sign each other. So I encourage artists to continue always just, you know, giving props to each other and putting more fans onto each other, you know. And so I like asking people like, well, you've already mentioned a bunch of artists, but are there any artists who you want to give shouts to, who are people from Halifax who you think, you know, people watching or listening might not know, might not have checked out? Like, so on ATSIC, anybody who's hearing this on After the Smoke is Clear is going to be pretty familiar with anybody who's on Black Buffalo. I guess I could say that. But outside of Black Buffalo, is there, you know, anybody who comes to mind that people should look out for? Even if it's not the homie, just like, yeah, I heard this guy's song is dope.
There's tons. Honestly, there's tons. Like, yeah, I think you mentioned like Lavender's on the come up.
Yeah.
You know, Jody Upshaw is another artist you got to watch out for. Mo Money Mateo out here. We got Kai Clayton out here. We got Baba No Baby. We got Shani 22. Like, it's crazy.
I love it. I go back through these interviews and I add, you know, all these people to my follow list so that I play their music.
You know what? Yeah, like, and I'm glad that you do that, because you know, like in 5 years from now, you know, you never know where they're going to turn up. You know what I mean? Yeah, like whether they're on your show or whether you see them going off and doing something big. You know? So
yeah, you never know for sure. What do you guys think about social media? Where can people find you on social media? And do you like social media? Do you not like social media? Is it a pain to use it, or
I don't know. Do you like email? I don't know.
Well, I feel like social media is more polarizing than that, man. You get a lot of people who are like, no, I can't go anywhere near it. I need to detox from it. You know, like, you don't really. Yeah.
I don't know. It's fine. At Ghettosocks, GHETTOSOCKS on Twitter and on. I mean, hardly on Twitter, but on Instagram, yeah. Dope. Not really on fucking TikTok, but I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe one day.
Who knows? Maybe I'll pull a NEMS and I'll have some sort of catchphrase. I'll have, you know, my own version of Bing Bong and fucking.
There you go.
I'll be everywhere.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How about you?
As long as you don't block his poster.
Yeah, DK blocked Nem's poster. That's when we met Nems in New York.
Yeah.
What? What do you mean you blocked his poster?
He was standing in the way of his poster.
I was at a show and I stood in the way of his poster, and I didn't realize that I was blocking his poster.
Oh, okay.
But the poster was already in the venue, which
people
you're
were
discouraging people for already there. But anyways. Yeah.
Maybe some of them wandered in there not knowing.
I don't think so. Anyways, social media _ or DK _ producer, Instagram, Twitter, not on TikTok. Comments about social media. I think that for some artists, I don't think they should be on it because it's distracting, especially when you're trying to like master the craft, like write rhymes, make beats and stuff like that. Like,
sure.
I just don't think the quality of music is good enough for a lot of people. And
get the art out before you're worried about social media promotion.
Exactly. Their time would be better spent like working on their craft instead of talking shit on social media.
That's a gem right there for sure. I like that. Yeah. Well, thanks guys. I appreciate y'all doing this. For anybody who's watching, these things take place live Tuesday afternoons on my Twitch. So twitch.tv/Doobyis. Doobyis is DOOBYIS, and you can find the archives for After the Smoke is Clear at mixcloud.com/Doobyis. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
And thanks for putting up with the tech difficulties, too.
No problem.
Hey.
Peace.
Take it easy.
Peace.
Okay, so boom, there I am. Thanks everybody. This was fun. Sorry you had to watch ads, P of the K. And also apologies to anybody who had to join the stream 4 different times because Shaw shit the bed on me on this one. But eventually that had to happen, I guess, with an interview. I've been waiting for the day that my internet connection fails me, and this was it, number 16. So I will chop something together from that interview that covers the important parts for sure, and I'll get that online. But it'll take some editing, so it might be a little while. I'll probably just throw it straight to YouTube at the same time, so that'll be fun. All right.